Hi guys, welcome to Delicate Moments Custom Dresses.
Do you believe in magic? Delicate moments that last forever.
Today we're going to be making a custom dress. So the customer has chosen a tartan fabric with a bottle green cotton. I've already cut out the pattern pieces, so let's get going. So the next step is to make the collar. Now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, making a pocket. So now we're going to take these 4 pieces of fabric and turn it into the sash. So the sash is going to be on the back of the dress, and it's going to be a huge bow. We're now going to turn them the right way out. This can be quite fiddly. So we need these corners nice and pointy so it makes a beautiful bow. So what I use is a knitting needle to poke the corners out. You do need to be careful because you can poke through your fabric and break your stitches. But it does make the world of difference. It just makes your work so much neater. But again, be very careful. I have now ready to pleat, and then we've got 2 sashes complete. We're now going to move on to the body. So here I've got the bodice pieces made and the bodice pieces for the lining. We're going to start with the main. So we're going to attach at the shoulder seams, right sides together, and clip it in place. Then we're going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance and sew them together. Then with the main fabric, so I'm going to take these to the ironing board and press the seams open. Set that to one side. And we're going to place the main bodice right side up. It's all attached and looking like this. Now we're going to attach our collar. So now we have the collar based in place. I'm going to put the lining on top, flip it all together and get that sewn together. So we've got the lining here. And what we're going to do is we're going to match up the neckline. Right sides together. So we're going to find these corner seams and put that in place. I'm going to make sure this middle line is connected. And we're just going to pin around the neckline first. So what I'm doing now is I'm just measuring 3/4 the way up, so then we can put our sash onto the body. So 3/4 of an inch and make a mark. Same on this side. We'll get our sash pieces, place it on the line we've just drawn, clip that in place. Gonna do the same to the other side. Now I'm just going to baste them on to keep them in place while we make the rest of the dress. So now I'm going to sew round here and that'll connect everything together. And we're going to trim the seam allowance and cut the corners. So make sure your sashes are out the way because you don't want to be cutting them. I'm going to flip it around and cut from this side because I can see the stitching better. Now that this is all pressed, we're going to connect them together so then we can make the armhole. So we're going to pull the front bodice to the back bodice. And we're going to line them up, making sure that this sash is sandwiched in between. Now we're going to do the same with the lining. Right sides together. And we're going to sew them together too. So now what we're going to do is press all these seams open. So that when the bodice is put back together, it'll all sit nice and flat. Just marking the centre point. Doing the same on the other sleeve. So now we're going to get our sleeve band back. I'm going to gather this. We're going to gather the sleeve the same size as the band. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the sleeve band inside the sleeve. So what I'm going to do first is join these two. So now we've got something that looks like this. We're going to very carefully cut this seam allowance to 1/4 inch. So now that's looking a little bit neater. We're going to pull this sleeve band out. And we're going to press this seam right up against there with the iron. Now we're going to fold this back up where our memory creases are. And I'm just going to snip all these frazzly bits off so we can get it as neat as possible. And then we're going to fold it one more time. You've got your sleeve band. Now we need to stitch it in place. Because I'm sewing a small size, I like to turn it inside out and put it inside my sewing machine because it's a lot easier. It's now the next day. What we're going to do today is attach the sleeves. So we're going to attach them to the bodice. Turning the bodice inside out. We're going to insert the sleeve into the bodice. And we're going to match up the seams. So we're going to match up the side seam. And the shoulder seam first. And then we're going to pin it all along, matching it up. Pulling at your gathering stitches to make it fit. That's all done now. And we're going to sew it with 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're going to take it to the sewing machine. So this is it all sewn together. What we're going to do now is we're going to trim the seam allowance. Very carefully, making sure that you're not going to cut the sleeve. So that's all trimmed. Just going to cut the loose threads and pull out any loose gathering stitches. Now we're going to overlock all around to finish the seams. So as you can see, we now have a nice puffy sleeve. I'm going to go ahead and finish the second sleeve, doing exactly the same, just on the other side. Seams are finished. So we're going to turn it right sides back out. And now we have a full bodice. 2 sleeves. So next, what we're going to be looking at is buttons. So we're going to need a button foot for the sewing machine. We're also going to need a buttonhole foot. So I've got my buttons, buttonhole foot, button foot, and my chalk. We're also going to need a sewing gauge. So first of all, we're going to change our foot. Pop this to one side. And then pop your buttonhole foot on. Choose the button you're using and put it into the buttonhole. This just tells the machine how big to do the buttonhole. Right, so So what we're going to do first, we're going to lay the bodice flat. We're going to mark 1/4 inch from the top and make sure it's 3/8 of an inch on the way in. And at the bottom, we're going to measure 1 inch. Now we're going to use our sewing gauge and pop them on the little markings we've just made. And then put a little line here because that's where our 3rd button's going to be. We're going to sew our buttonholes. So now we've done all 3 buttonholes. We're going to line it back up. We're going to press it all straight. I'm just making sure that when the buttons are attached, it's going to sit nice and flat on the child's body. So now, so we've got all 3 buttons attached. The next job is to start the skirt. So now we're going to start on the skirt. So we've got 2 pieces for the skirt and we've got the skirt placket. So we've finished off all the edges. What we're going to do now is make the hem. So I'm just going to go to the ironing board and I'll be back when I've hemmed it all. So now I've pressed the hem, we're just going to stitch that in place. Okay, so that's the skirt complete. So we're now on the final day and all that's left to do is attach the skirt to the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch some gathering stitches around the top of the skirt. So them stitches are all now sewn. What we're going to do is we're going to gather the skirt to match the body. So the same width of the body. So I'm going to do that by pulling these 2 stitches here. And as you can see, it's gathering up. By gathering the fabric, it makes it smaller, able to fit around the body. So we're slowly starting to look like a skirt now. So now what we're going to do is put the bodice inside of the skirt. So now I'm just going to clip this into the dress so that we won't get caught in stitching. So we're going to match up this side seam. Clip that on. Find the other side seam. just roughly go along and make sure that's about the right size, which it is. To make sure it's nice and neat, I'm just going to make sure the gathers are all gathered evenly. So I'm just going to pull it out a little bit. Bring some more to this side. And there we go. So I'm going to clip this in place. So the next step is to sew the bodice onto the skirt. So we're just going to sew it all the way around the skirt, making sure to avoid the straps. So that's all the... So it's all sewn together now. I'm just going to check that I've not caught any sashes in the way. No. No. So I'm going to flip it back over. And I'm going to take these gathering stitches out. So I'm just going to pull them through. Then we're going to overlock these edges. So now we have a nice neat seam around the waist. We're going to turn the dress right side out. And there we have it, our dress. So I'm now going to top stitch around here to lock that seam in. So now that's been top stitched, what we're going to do is we're going to check around, make sure there's no loose threads anywhere. Cut all the loose threads away. So the dress is now finished. I'm in love with the final product. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so Christmassy. My favourite parts of the dress would be the collar, the sleeve bands, and the big bow on the back. It just makes it have like a Christmassy feel. I actually really enjoyed making this dress. I did have a few concerns about the buttons. I thought they weren't going to line up, but they're perfect. I'm really happy with this dress. I love it. I hope my customer does too. So thank you for watching my first ever YouTube video. There's going to be lots more like this one, so please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.